So excited to be joined by today's guest, first and third baseman in the Toronto Blue Jays organization, currently playing for the AAA Buffalo Bisons. Riley Tirotta, welcome to the Walk-Off, man. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. Glad we can get together.
I agree. I'm excited to talk some baseball with you. To start with, big congratulations on your 2024 season to date, man. You have an OPS over 960. You've been in the system since 2021. Nice to see that hard work paying off.
Absolutely. I think that's all you can ask for, man. Just improvement, progress, and as you move up, you continue to master the game, but just compete at that level and kind of allow yourself to build off of that and whatever happened the year before, figure it out, learn from it, and try not to make the same mistakes again. But you know how this game goes. It's
Yeah.
hard.
Well,
We're the best losers.
I have a bunch of questions for you about moving up the system and just what that's like in general. But before we get into that, I also have some listener questions that we'll get to at the end here.
Awesome.
Let's start with this year's increase in power because I am curious if that is just, it's probably a little of both, but I figured I'd check with you here. Is that like the result of just the process kind of coming together over years, or did you change some stuff with your swing coming into this season? How did that all play out?
Yeah, I think every year you make slight adjustments in your swing. I mean, there's four months of the off season to kind of refine your skills, critique your swing. I mean, you'll be looking at video on and off the whole time, seeing how things match up, seeing what you want to see in the season compared to your last year's video. Um, but I was working with two of my hitting coaches, Mike Marks and Tyler Mitchell, from back home, and they they just wanted to add an element of depth in my barrel, allowing my barrel to be on plane a little bit longer. And I think that's something that I've always worked on since college, since I've really started to go in depth with my swing and try to correct it and try to get it to where I want it to be. I think that just adding that depth a little bit has given us a chance to improve our goal, which is a more of an attainable goal, I think, throughout the season, and that's just making more contact. Something power has been something that's I've naturally had. I've been able to hit the ball far, for a few years since I gained a little bit more weight in my freshman sophomore year of college. I figured out I was able to drive the ball a little bit further, and in turn, you try to do that during the game. You try to hit homers. You try to pull the ball in the air. You try to tap into that power that you have in the game. And sometimes the best thing to do is to dial it back. Actually, to take not lesser swings, but just more focused swings on low line drives to the right side of the field for a righty like me. And that just kind of opens everything else up, man. You make more contact in turn. If you already naturally hit the ball hard and you hit the ball more often, you're going to get more hard hits. You're going to hit more homers. You're going to hit more doubles. So it's not something we didn't try to work in more power. We didn't try to pull the ball in the offseason. We didn't try to drive the ball in the air. We didn't work on bat speed. We didn't. I mean, I'm always working to get stronger, but those things just come naturally when um, you're working on the right things. You're working on getting on playing with the ball, being in a good position to hit, having repeatable loads and gathers and pre-pitch movements in your swing. And if those things are all consistent, which that's all I did in the off season was be more consistent with those moves, things are going to play a lot better. And so far this season, it's a long season, but it's gone well so far.
I'm curious what it's like then when you do pinpoint something like your swing plane and where you want the barrel to stay, and you're working on correcting that. I can imagine that sticking with it sometimes feels unnatural.
Yeah, absolutely. There's sometimes where you're you're like I said, getting into those
You're
loaded
almost
early
working against your own
movements.
muscle memory at that point,
Yeah,
eh?
exactly. If somebody like me wants to, drive the ball, pull out really hard, and turn on the ball a lot. When me, I need to focus on letting the ball travel and get deep and staying through the right side of the field, and that's and that's always hard to do because you want to take that big swing, you want to take a homer swing, but half the time it's just swallowing your pride and allowing the ball to travel a little bit more and trying to hit a single the other way because that's we're trying to get on base and maximize our at bats with as many good outcomes as possible.
It's easier to fight against that muscle memory when you're seeing the results as well. And I know and maybe you can speak to this a little bit. My guess is it's a little bit coincidence and a little bit you're just feeling it. But like you've had, I think it's three 2-homer games this year. So, and
I think I'm at two.
maybe I'm giving you too much here, but when that's happening, like it's got to be a little bit weird because I mean baseball's all slumps and streaks, right? So like when you're
Right.
kind of piling them up like that, is it just a case you're just seeing the ball well that day?
Absolutely, man. Sometimes you can load off that pitcher's timing and whatever he throws in, you feel like you're gonna hit it. And a lot of the times during those weeks that you have or 2 week stretches or however long, your confidence is at an utmost high. And I think there's a lot of learning there too because right now last week I had a little bit of a down week, um, and it's like when do I start going back to my process a little bit more as opposed to just playing the game because for the last 3 weeks I really haven't had to do any in-depth focus on anything. I've just been riding this wave and it's going well. But now it's like once that heater runs out a little bit and you have to start working for your at bats a little bit more because these guys are just as good as we are, man. They have great staff members who watch a lot of video, and if they see me raking on for 3 weeks, they're gonna try to figure out how not to let that happen to them. And so far and so far they've done a really good job, and I think it's part of the game too. It's like for the last 2 weeks I've gotten pitched a lot better. And I think that's a testament to myself and just hard work and things like that is am I gonna let these guys now get me out because they're pitching into a location that I haven't been hitting all year. And so now I have to fine tune my approach to that a little bit, be ready for those pitches and do damage on those pitches now. And that'll get me back to getting the pitches that I was getting over that 2 3 week hot streak.
Oh, it's a cruel game. I mean, I always think of that old adage of you're never as bad as you are right now and you're never as good as you are, like it's just
It's so
you got to
true.
ride those waves. Yeah.
Try to stay in the middle, man. Sometimes you get too high, sometimes you get too low, and it's best if we stay right in the middle of all of that. And um, yeah, I mean, when you're going good, you feel like the best player in the world, and when you can't get any hits, you feel like the worst player in the world, and you shouldn't be there. And that's if you fall into those traps. I mean, it's going to be a really, really, really long season and
Yeah,
a
tough
short
mental
career,
battle for
probably. Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's talk a little life stuff here because, man, you have moved around a lot in the last year or two. And I think it is something that's kind of lost sometimes on fans. The minor league battle of just like, you get called up, and a lot of people don't like you were called up to Buffalo May 22nd, and you hit the ground running, man. You could not have asked for a better start to AAA for yourself. So what goes into pulling that off over the last couple of years? Because you do have like four other experiences of being called up to kind of lean on, right? Of like a new city, a new role on a team, just new teammates in general. What is the off the field side of the call up and like what's involved in just being ready to play baseball?
Yeah, I think throughout this organization, there's a lot of good people up and down it through from AAA. I've been at every level, so AAA down to rookie ball. There's coaches that I've had in AA that are now on the rookie ball staff. There's coaches in AAA that I had in low A. There's kind of like it's very familiar as you go through our organization, and I'm not sure if it's like that with other organizations, but I mean everywhere you go, you feel welcome almost because everybody or a lot of people. AAA was the first stop I made that I that I felt like I had to meet a bunch of new people, and I think that just comes from signing guys. And I honestly, I really there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but for different reasons why guys end up on other AAA teams. So I've gotten to meet a lot of other guys who have been up in the big leagues and with a bunch of different organizations, a couple years older than me. But I think uh, in order to move to a new team, to be successful, to have a good time, to enjoy the new city, I think it comes back to just, and it's going to sound very cliche, but just being a good teammate, man. And there's a lot that goes into that. There's on the field stuff that goes into that. There's playing hard. There's picking up your teammates' gloves after innings. There's standing on the fence and cheering when you're 0 for 4. There's not throwing your bat when you're 0 for 10. There's um, the ability to play every day, keeping yourself healthy, letting your not letting your teammates see you do the work, but knowing that you put in the work and there's people around you that they look at you and they're like, okay, we don't have to question whether that guy works hard. Um, and if he's not successful, it's not because he's not working hard. And if he is successful, he's a very good testament to, he works his butt off, and look at the success that he's having. He's moving up, he's doing all these things. So I think that A is the most important thing for me, is to show up and to let everybody know without saying it that I'm there to work. I'm going to do everything I can for the team to win. And I'm going to put myself into the best position for my teammates to trust me as a player, as a person, as a teammate, as a friend off the field. Um, and I think if you have that attitude, you may not play well, you could stink, but um, your teammates are gonna enjoy being around you, and your staff members will appreciate the effort. And just moving, I've been to Vancouver now. I've been to Manchester, New Hampshire. There's Boston right next to it. There's Buffalo. I feel like I've been everywhere that who is it? Is it Johnny Cash? I've been everywhere,
Yeah,
man. Or
yeah,
who
that's
is it?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hank
yeah,
Snow. Yeah, you're
yeah,
nailing it.
yeah. So that's how I feel right now, man. But it's fun. I really, really like it. I enjoy traveling. I enjoy seeing new places. I I love when I'm in a new city and my parents drive 8 hours and show up and out of nowhere and we go check out the city. Or I'm on the West Coast and my girlfriend flies out and we neither of us have been to the West Coast, but we are exploring Vancouver together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or my buddies drive up and we go find the nearest place to go get drinks in Buffalo and figure out the night. You know what I mean? And I think it's just a lot of fun, man. And I really enjoy it personally. I mean, there's some cities you go to where you're like, I don't even want to leave my room. I shouldn't leave my room.
Yeah.
There's nothing else to do here. But um, nah, it's awesome just going to new places and figuring out what there is to do, what makes that city unique, what's around it. And it's a lot of fun, man. There's so many things. We've gone to beaches, we've gone to amusement parks, we've gone to restaurants, awesome restaurants. There's just so much to do everywhere, and I think that um I've been to cities before and I've written them off right away. I'm like, oh, there's nothing to do here. You know what I mean? I don't want to do anything here. Then, like I said, somebody will come visit me and they're a lot better at planning things than I am. And they'll be like,
Right.
hey, let's go check this thing out. And I'll be like, oh, this place is awesome. Buffalo's not terrible. Buffalo's not the worst place ever. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
Manchester
Yeah.
or whatever city I'm in. You know what I mean? And because just being from the Midwest, like South Bend, for example, and Dayton, Ohio, and I've spent a lot of time in those cities, and I feel like it takes a long time in order to have fun in those cities and to figure out what there is to do, where to go, where not to go. And just the more you so like when I'm in Vancouver for 2 seasons, yeah, I got that city down pat. I can go have a great time there and
Yeah.
show you all the beautiful things. But same with Manchester. But like Buffalo right now, I feel like I haven't even gotten a chance to explore the city. So
Just
I would
scratching the
be
surface, eh?
yeah, I have no idea what there is to do there. I know there's Niagara Falls. I seen some water over on Lake Erie. That was nice. There's some nice restaurants down there. Um, looks like a good place to fish. I like to fish. That's what I do down in Florida pretty much exclusively. I don't I've I've done the Tampa thing. I've explored Tampa. I like Tampa. But there's so much more to do on the water down in Florida
Yeah.
than there is to do anything else, in my opinion. And golf, and a lot of guys play golf every day during the season. I try to stay off the golf course just because it's not the best thing for me and my body during the
Interesting.
seasons.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask you about golf. What is the reasoning behind just is it a swing thing?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, sometimes in like I do golf during the season. I haven't once this season yet, and I probably won't because I've been hitting a lot better. So maybe there is a swing aspect there, but I don't feel like the golf swing changes, the baseball swing too much. If anything, I think it helps the baseball swing. I mean, but granted, if you're gonna allow it to change your baseball swing, I mean, we've baseball players at this level. I mean, you can't forget how to swing. You know what I mean?
No.
It's like riding a bike. You know what you need to do. You know if you take a swing, what's off. I feel like, and sometimes that's not always the case. When you're going through slumps, you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. You know what I mean? But more often than not, you're swinging at bad pitches and you're putting yourself into those positions to begin with. But I don't know. I chunk a lot. I take big divots sometimes, and sometimes my wrists will come up sore. I'm like, that's not too good. Or
Yeah.
I was going through a rehab with tendonitis on my Achilles, and I was like, hey, I'm starting to walk. I'm not running yet, but do you think it'd be good if I went out and played golf? Like, I need to get outside. I need to go do something. He was like, well, let me tell you, I went golfing yesterday, and this is my PT trainer guy running
Yeah.
my whole program. He's telling me this, and he's like, yeah, I could barely walk this morning when I woke up. Both my Achilles are sore. So he's telling me that going through an Achilles rehab progression, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna trust this guy. And because
Yeah.
at that point it was late April, the guys were already playing, season's already going. I'm missing the first month of it, and at that point I was just trying to get out of rehab and trying to get healthy. So since then I really haven't touched a golf club. After my PT told me that his Achilles were sore from golfing, I was like, it's probably not the best. Maybe he just
Let's
told me
not
that to
let's
keep
not
me off
risk
the
it.
golf course. Yeah, yeah, but no, not trying to risk it at all, man. But this
Was
off season, I will be out there 2 to 3 times a week, probably.
was Vancouver was that your first taste of Canada?
Yeah, for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
I've been to Ontario a few times, just on fishing trips with my cousins and my
Yeah.
grandpa and my uncles. We went to, you probably have never heard of it, Rice Lake. It's in Ontario. I don't know where exactly, but we've been up there a few times, rented cabins,
Yeah.
pulled our boats up there, rented a cabin with 15, 20 of us guys, and it's some of the best times I've ever had in my life. And I can say that that is in Canada. So
Amazing.
but spending an extended period of time in Canada, yes, Vancouver, and I mean that place is unbelievable.
I know a lot of the guys besides Nat Bailey Stadium, which everyone feels
Hmm.
like that's kind of like a welcoming to pro ball because it's just they pack
Yeah,
that place out on a Tuesday even like
yeah, every
it's
day
yeah, every day. But I can imagine too it's kind of like the first like major city you're in. Like it's a fairly big city for
for sure.
high A ball.
It's a big league city. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, basketball there back in the day. They got the hockey
Yeah.
team, the soccer teams, football teams. I mean, it's incredible. It's a big league city for sure. That was the first uh time where it was like, yeah, after the game, every day, anytime, you can go have fun in
Yeah.
Vancouver. You know what I mean? Whether that's good fun, bad fun, but there's
Yeah.
lots of fun out
There's
there in
fun to be
Vancouver.
had.
Yeah, everywhere, man. It's a great time, and I think the guys in that city, and I there's a lot of younger guys that we hang out with. Jaden Rudd is one of them. He's an outfielder in Vancouver, and he was in our 2021 draft class. He was like one of the only 18-year-olds in our draft class. So
Right.
most of
Yeah.
the guys are 2, 3, 4 years older than him. So we're kind of, taking him under our wing, giving him the freshman treatment. You know what I mean? Just like things
Yeah.
that he would get in college baseball that he never got. So it's been fun to see him grow from an 18-year-old to a 21, 22-year-old now, and he's in Vancouver. And I was talking to him the other day, and it's just like giving me flashbacks. Like, oh man, that place is
Yeah.
still great. You're doing it right. You know what I mean? You're having a good time. Yeah, of course, you're focusing. Your main priority is
Of
baseball always,
course.
but
Of
that's an
course.
awesome city that your baseball life will improve because of your off the field life. I think I think as a human being, if you're solely one dimensional on baseball and it's going good or bad, it doesn't matter. You could be an all-star, but if you're going to the field every day for 6 months and you don't have any escape from that, I mean, you're going to drive yourself crazy, especially because there's ups and downs in the season. Um, Taking your teammates out for a walk in Vancouver downtown on a Friday night, you don't even have to go in anywhere. It's just about doing something, things like that. You know what I mean? Exploring and grabbing a bite to dinner here and just being off the field with your teammates in a cool place. It's great for your baseball game in itself.
Well, it's interesting because you did kind of touch on that off the top there, right? As like familiarity goes a long way, and that you are building these relationships because you're with these guys for who knows how long, man. Like,
Right.
especially the guys that you're getting drafted with and coming up with, like no player development is the same, obviously, but like, the longer you're in a system, the more you're going to see these same guys that you kind of came up with. And it's
Of
interesting
course.
because I do relate to that on like from a stand-up comics point of view when you're first starting out, it's crazy how much the relationships you make right out of the gate matter when it comes to just relating to a person 5, 10 years down the road, right? Like because
Right.
you went through the trenches with them in the same way.
Absolutely.
And I can imagine baseball is very similar, right? Where like you start in the Florida Coast League with somebody, and 4 years down the road you're playing in Buffalo, and I mean, you had that all of those growing pains together, like
Absolutely.
wild.
Absolutely. I just I had a awesome week last week because one of my best friends in the organization, Garrett Spain, we were drafted together in 21. Came from Austin P. We went to draft camp together. You know what I mean? So there's other guys too, but he is one of my buddies in the org. So it was cool to see him come up to
Yeah.
Buffalo last week to hit a rocket to center to make a good play in center field. I mean, he's 2 years younger than me, so he's still young and but like you said, you know what I mean? It's like, oh man, look where we are now. You know, it's just like
Yeah, right?
and and in draft camp in 21, Alec Manoa talked to us and he said that he was like, you guys are this is hard. This is a hard game, and Vancouver might be the highest level you get to. So when you're on that field in Vancouver and there's 7,000 people screaming at you, take a second, look around, and enjoy it. Take it all in because it's cool. No matter what level you're at in pro ball, people are still buying a ticket to come see you, and I think that's a testament. So last week in Rochester when Spain was up there and there are a few other guys. It's just like, yeah, this is pretty cool. I played with this guy in low A, and now look where we're at. And I mean,
Yeah.
Leo Jimenez, he was one of my first teammates in Dunedin in 21. And I mean, back then he was just a kid, just really just a little kid. You know what I mean? I think he was 19 or 18 years old, and he was he was already polished like he is now. And it's been fun to see him continue to grow. And he he has stayed the same person, but has also made drastic changes to himself to put himself to where he is now. And it's awesome. It's cool to see, like you said, just 4 or 5 years in now, to see where guys are at, to be with your buddies at the next level, to be in Buffalo, to see guys you were in low A with make their debuts, watch them on TV, and
Yeah.
now it's like, I mean, those are my friends. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that I came into pro ball as a college guy, watching these guys who have played pro ball since they were 16 and learning different tricks and different things from them and what makes it tick and what makes you be able to show up to the field every day for 7 months and have some sanity. And I think that's just, just continuing to build those bonds with your teammates and um, be happy for the guy next to you at all
Yeah.
times, cheering for your teammates, whether he's in the same position as you or not. You know what I mean? Because if you're sitting there rooting for somebody's downfall the whole time, your life's going to be miserable. um, and I think we're all guilty of it at times.
Well,
There's been
it's
points in my career where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I mean, I'm hopefully tomorrow's my chance. You know what I mean? And in order for that
mhm.
to happen, somebody has to play bad. You know what I mean? And that's just not the way to go about it. I can go back to points in my career where I was playing 2-3 times a week, and that was on my mind. You know what I mean? How who's gonna go to who's gonna allow me to be on the field? You know what I mean? What's gonna make me, the next guy up? And it's a bad way to go about the game. And as soon as you have to learn those things earlier in your career, or else, your career is not going to last very long. And it's because nowadays it's so cutthroat with these jobs, man. There's a lot less jobs out there. There's a lot more guys that want these jobs, and I think we have to every day just be grateful for the
it
opportunity to be
really
here.
it really is a wild dynamic when you start talking about it, right? Because it is very much a competition between everyone in the organization, right? There's only a finite amount of positions available, and everyone's goal is the same, which is the show. And then at the
200
same
guys fighting
time,
for one spot. Yep.
exactly. But at the same time, like you're in it together, right? Like there's the familiarity and the relationships and everything that you've already touched on and like how important it is to have everyone's back. So it's like
Right.
it to balance that out. Like I know we've talked about your promotions, um, and obviously the next step is is the big one, right? Like it is the one that you've been working your whole career towards, but you kind of touched on it there with like it's also detrimental to be watching the guys above you, to
Yeah,
like
of
be
course.
doing the math on that. I know he's not in the
For sure.
organization anymore. I think he's pitching in Japan right now. I don't know if you ever met James Dykstra. He was an independent ball guy that wound up in Double-A for a little while with the Jays. He was on the show and
Uh-huh.
he was talking about his biggest downfall. And I'm really happy for the guy that he's pitching professionally in Japan and stuff. That's awesome. But
Yeah.
he had kind of got lost in the shuffle came out of affiliate ball and wound up in independent league for a while before coming back to the Jays there. And he basically summed up what you were saying. He's like, I was literally doing the math. I was like, oh, this guy got injured. I'm one call up away. And he's like,
Yeah.
once you start doing that, he's like, it is a slippery slope. And he's like, I kind of lost myself in it. So
Hmm.
it's really interesting to hear that, like, I think being cognizant of that is huge, right? Like
Absolutely.
we're all humans. You're gonna do it at times to time, right? Where you're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
it's impossible not to. But
Right.
how do you stay focused on the goal of the show, but also on the day to day and being continuing to develop and stuff without that mental?
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard
Okay,
because
yeah,
at this point, um, not that I didn't have confidence in myself, but when you're drafted, it's like the big leagues seem a mile away. Like they seem like a just an afterthought. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And as you go up, um, I think it still feels that way. um,
Okay, yeah,
even now, even now, it's like I think I think it doesn't seem that it's far away, but I've just trained my mind to yes, I have that dream. I'm always working towards it every day, and it's the number one goal. You know what I mean? Of course, naturally, it's everybody wants to play in the big leagues, but like you said with Dykstra, I think back in when I was in high A, not playing well in 22, it's a huge year for me, a growing year, and I think I just kind of left all that there, man. Not worrying too much. Like every promotion I've gotten, it's come at a surprise.
yeah,
Absolutely, it's come at a surprise. I got hurt this year to start the season, and I was in Double-A for a month. If you would have told me I was going to be in Double-A for a month, I would have told you you're lying.
yeah.
Um, so so it's a waste of energy, I think. At this point, I don't even think about a promotion. Yes, when I'm playing well, and I'm playing the game that I feel like, I think I could compete with anybody in the world. And but I'm not going back to the locker room hoping for a promotion to the big leagues every night. It'll drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It'll make a long season way longer. And I think it's just about being content. You may not be happy with where you're at, and that's fine. But that just adds fuel to work harder, to play better, to yeah, like they say, if you don't like it, play better. If you don't like the food in double A, play better. The food's better in triple A.
Yeah.
Um,
That-
but yeah, yeah, but I think it's just like you said in comedy and growing with those people for 5 years, and you can look around and see guys who you're like, that guy was better than me in low A, but he doesn't have a job anymore. You know what I mean? And and you can think about certain things, that characteristics that that guy may have had, that don't allow him to continue to play now, or um those things all have to come across your mind, and you have to leave baggage like that where you find it.
Mhm.
And for me, that was 22 in Vancouver, just getting hurt two, three times, not playing well, beating myself up every day for not playing well, looking up ahead, see who knows head, see when I could get to double A when I didn't even compete in high A. So why the heck am I thinking about going to double A, and things like that. Same thing in triple A, you know what I mean? When I was, doing the 3 week thing that I had, that hot streak that I was on for a while, and my numbers were, inflated and really
Insane.
good,
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. And, it would have been really easy to be like, hey, look at my numbers. I need to go up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's just about the last thing you need to do, especially going from AAA to the big leagues, because you know what I mean? There's a lot of guys that have good numbers for years and years and years in AAA and never make the big leagues. So you know what I mean? If
Mhm.
I'm not asking for that by any means. I'm not hoping for that to happen. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to me, but what if it does? It doesn't take away from the fact that I like to play this game. Actually, I love to play this game. I always have. I always will love this game. So whether I'm in AAA or the big leagues, I'm still gonna love what I do. Um, and I think if you start putting timestamps on yourself and expectations, and you know, of course you wanna continue to make that your goal, and you're working your butt off every day to get to that point in the big leagues. But if that's all that's on your mind, you're gonna lose sight of what's going on in front of you, and you have to be where your feet are. You have to be present, and because you won't be able to cultivate those relationships with your teammates, you won't be able to grow from any situation if all your energy is spent on the future and moving
Yeah.
forward and this, that, and the other. You know, it's very cliche, very very obvious, I feel like, but you have to be where your feet are. You have to continue to make the place where you're at a better place. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here in AAA. I still feel like the new guy, whether even though it's a completely different team than what it was in May when I got here. I still want to show my teammates that I'm working hard every day. I still want to you know continue to grow with this team and help the guys around me if I can. Do anything I can to help these guys, and just be a good teammate and continue to work hard up that goal of always the big leagues, of course.
What's the biggest jump when it comes to just on the field jump for you so far? I know we've had a couple pitchers on. I was just talking to TJ Brock, and he was kind of saying his biggest jump was literally high A to double A. And he was just saying that like guys can hit the breaking ball in double A so much better
Mm-hmm.
than they can in high A.
Yeah.
Where was the biggest jump for you?
College to pro ball.
College to
um,
pro. Okay.
Yeah, I think college to pro ball. I think just playing in the A10 mid-major conference. That was just seeing consistent velocity every day. That's the biggest adjustment that I had to make. Um, But once you're in it, yes, the biggest jump for me has been high A to double A. For TJ, I think it's funny that he said that he even that he even was vulnerable enough to say that his slider got hit.
Yeah.
that's that's gotta be that's gotta be hard for TJ to do. but that but that's what I think that's the biggest thing is that biggest jump is from high A to double A because in high A you got guys that can locate a fast that can throw a fastball and a slider for strikes, but in double A they'll have three pitches and they'll start to hit spots with that look with those pitches as opposed to just filling up the zone. In high
Mhm.
A they're trying to throw all their stuff for strikes. In double A they can do that already, so now they're going to try to throw their stuff where they think you can't hit it, and and you just have to refine your approach more and get get better at doing what you do best, and whatever that is for you, you have to figure that out. And yeah, but I think every level is a jump. Every level you need to make an adjustment from double A to triple A. It's been even more of these guys hitting their spots.
Yeah.
They might not quite have some of the um you know high velos or huge spin rates that they do in double A, but there's a reason that these guys are in triple A and they know how to pitch. It might not impress you as much on the velocity on the scoreboard or things like that, but these guys are better and their pitchability is definitely higher than it was in double A.
Positionally, you're a very versatile guy. I mean, throughout your career, you've played, it feels like everywhere. I know you're mostly first base and third base this year. Do you have a
Mm-hmm.
position that you just is your position that you're most comfortable with?
Yeah, I would say it's third base,
Yeah.
but um, that's where I go to third base, and I feel like I'm at home because I played there every day in college for 4 years, and
Right.
um, started off in pro ball playing pretty much only third. And but like I said, man, there's good guys up and down our system. You're competing for a job everywhere you go, and if you are a one-dimensional player, it's going to be hard for you to get on the field. And I think personally, I first base is I've kind of made that like I really take pride in playing first base and being a guy that our infielders can make a great play and just whip the ball over there, and they don't feel like they have to make a perfect throw. You know what I
You're
mean?
gonna
I'll
pick
pick
it.
it up and I'll
Yeah.
I'll I'll do everything I can to be valuable in that aspect as a first baseman. So I think this year I've taken a lot of pride and I really enjoy playing first. And now when I go to third, it's back to the basics, but it's it's now a second home, I think, over there at third base. And it's so hard, man. Third base is the hardest position on the field. So it's like even when I'm at first base, I'm still in every play. I'm still
Yeah.
at the hot corner, but it's a different mindset over there at first as opposed to third. Third's you got to be aggressive. You have to be you can't be behind a step at all at third. And I think when you're playing third, the intensity of the game's a little bit higher, and I think that's part of the aspect that I like about it is the difficulty. And but I think if you look at my numbers, I would say this year I feel like I've had a little bit better time over at first base. I've Third base is something that you can work every day on it, but if you're playing over there 2 3 times a week, it's different than playing it every day. And it's a tough thing, but I think being versatile has allowed me to continue to move up and
Hmm.
just every day find a spot in the lineup. And if they have confidence to put me at that place on defense, then I did something right. So it's about all I can do.
Well, I mean, you even see it at the big league level. It's interesting to watch Davis Schneider, who, was a third base, second
Right.
baseman, and now he's getting reps in left all the time because that's where they can fit him. Spencer Horwitz
Hmm.
literally, I mean, he's ripping the cover off the ball still in the big leagues. He's on a bit of a
Yeah,
heater himself here, and like he
absolutely.
hadn't played second base until this year. So like
Right.
if there's the more you can play, the more positions you can play, the better. Curious, this is probably a dumb question. Do you have pitch calm when you're playing first base?
No,
No.
no, just pitcher catcher,
Do
just
you
pitcher
know
catcher.
what the This is such a dumb question. I shouldn't even.
No, it's
What do you know what
fine.
the voice is? What's the voice? Is it like can you set the voice? Like is it like a robotic voice or like
I don't I don't know if you could change the voice like Siri,
like
but
GPS? Yeah, Siri. Yeah.
it's very it's fastball, slider, slider. You know, it's like a
Yeah.
robotic uh not real person voice. So I
Yeah.
don't know. You could turn it up and down, and you'll be in the dugout, and the pitcher and the catcher will be talking about it, and the catcher will hit his button a few times, and the pitcher's over there changing it, and they'll turn it up too loud. You know what I mean? So then you can hear it, and I always want the catcher to turn his up a little too loud so I can hear what pitch is coming. I was like,
Yeah.
touch
It's
touch
so
the
much easier to
volume
hit it
knob.
when you know what's coming, right?
Yeah, touch the volume knob with my bat on his knee, try to turn it up, see if he doesn't notice or something.
Out of curiosity, man, what got you into baseball? Was your dad just a big fan? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I grew up watching my dad play slow pitch softball,
yeah,
and that was kind of like I thought he was really good. You know what I mean? I would go watch
yeah,
him make diving plays playing slow pitch softball, and we would go home and he would hit me ground balls out in the backyard. And I think from the age of 4, I started playing t-ball. So I didn't really have a choice at that point. My dad, I think,
yeah,
just put me into t-ball, and but I think he knew. You know what I mean? My first word was ball. He loves the game. He played the game. He didn't play it past high school, but it was still all baseball, man. It was the first thing I ever learned how to do. And yeah, he was my first coach for years. Put me into t-ball, and I grew up yeah watching him play slow pitch, a shortstop. He was a
yeah.
shortstop, so I still plays somehow. He told me the other day that he might not be able to play anymore. I've been watching him throw for like 10 years, and it's just slowly gone down. His shoulder starts working less and less,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but yeah, it's funny to say because as a little kid, I'm sitting there watching my dad. I'm thinking my dad's playing in the big leagues because he's making diving plays and stuff,
yeah,
playing slow pitch softball with on a family team that all my cousins played on and my uncles played on. I was watching. I started playing slow pitch with them when I was 16. So
yeah,
um, I think I had no choice but to get into the game, and yeah, man. I mean, every day, that's all I wanted to do was work on my game, and yeah, my dad was there to put in that work with me, and his love of the game transferred over to me, and I think I probably love it more than he does now. So, um, but it's been an awesome journey just as a whole. This baseball thing has been crazy. Just the friends that I've made that come still visit me now who don't play, but they were my first teammates, you know what I mean? So they remember playing with me. I remember playing with them when we were 10, 11, 12 years old, and we just have memories from years and years. They go back years and years for this game, traveling, doing the travel baseball with my family, and watching my brother play baseball, and just going to high school, doing different things there, playing for different summer teams there, going to college, playing in Michigan in the summer leagues in the Northwoods, and going to New York City, playing Fordham. That was cool. Things just like there's just a million different memories that this game has given me, and a lot of friends, and it's been awesome for me personally, but for my family also to just come on this journey with me because they've been there since literally day one, of course, but
yeah.
they've
Very
they've
cool.
they've put just as much into it as I have, and it's been awesome.
I love that so much, man. So as a Midwest boy, your team was what? The Reds, the
Nah,
Guardians, the
keep going. The Cubs, man, of course. Cubs,
okay.
Chicago. Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go. Yeah.
I was, I still feel like a Cubs fan at times. I'll throw them on TV and I'll be like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is. I'm watching the Cubs. I want the Cubs to win, and feel because I would come home every day in high school, and if I wasn't busy, I'd watch the Cubs every single day, every day. And my buddies and I would get together on the weekends,
2016
and
must have been wild for you then, eh?
yeah, man, that was one of the best times of my life.
Oh,
Watching the Cubs go through that playoff run and win the World Series. unbelievable. I watched it with my grandfather, who he passed away a couple years ago. But I mean, he was a Cubs fan his whole life. So I
Yeah.
mean, watching
Wow.
watching that with him, it was awesome. It was incredible. I mean, he was like he was 86 years old, I think, when they won the World Series, and he was like, man, I never thought I would have
Never
ever
thought it was
seen
gonna
this. So
happen. Wow.
no, so in order to watch that with him, it was awesome. And
Sports
yeah,
fandom is
just
so funny, man. Like it's just
yeah,
so the Jays, obviously Jays fan right from the time I was a kid, because in Canada, right? So
of course.
they won when I was 10 and 11. Like, and just as like an 11-year-old boy, I honestly had this idea of like, you cheer for your favorite team for a couple years and then they win a championship. It's just gonna
Yeah.
happen. And like here we are like 30 years later, and I'm like, oh, really wish I'd understood the hugeness of that win
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah. There's a large yeah, being a sports fan, I mean, Notre Dame fan, I'm a Notre
Yeah.
Dame football fan. I don't know if you watch college football. I don't know if you know anything about Notre Dame football, but they're about the best team until they play that top three team every year. You know what I mean? They're like the four. They're on the
Yeah.
cusp every year, and you're like, yeah, they'll go undefeated until they play Ohio State or in Alabama in the national championship, and they'll get
Yeah.
beat by 50. You know what I mean? So it's like I've seen that happen over and over again every year. They'll go to the national championship. They'll go to a big bowl game or something like that. And they'll get destroyed, and I'm like, I don't even know why I even thought that they had a chance to win this game. So it's sports are tough, man. They're
Yeah, you
tough.
just get up to get heartbroken again, and we can't
Yeah,
help ourselves. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Riley, I have really enjoyed chatting baseball with you, my man. Thank you so much for taking the time here. You got a few more minutes? We got a couple listener questions to get to here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
we'll
I
get
got
you off
time,
to
man. I got
Waffle
time.
House. The man's got to be fed. Okay.
Thanks for having me, man. I watch a lot of I listen to Joe Rogan here and there, and
Yeah.
hearing his podcast, because he'll have different comedians on, and hearing the comedian community. I don't know if you maybe you're a part of the Joe Rogan comedian community, but I'm not sure. But
I'm
that
not, no.
it sounds like, you know what I mean, the tight knit community that you have. You know everybody. You move up together. You play different
Hmm.
places together. It sounds just like baseball, and it
It
sounds cool,
really
man.
is. And it's funny, even though I'm not a part of that community, and it's basically because it's so much money and work to get the visa to go to the States. But I've got lots of buddies who
Hmm.
are in that community. And if you're just, I've opened for guys like that when they come to Canada, and it's very similar to baseball, I would imagine. Anyways, it's been a long time
Yeah,
since I played ball or never played at a high level, right? But you have that camaraderie, and even though guys I'm opening for are far higher up on the chain, there's still that like mutual respect of like, okay, like
absolutely.
we're doing the same thing, yeah. So
Yeah,
no.
yeah, that's cool.
Oh, okay. So, the first question, and it's funny, you kind of touched on it a little bit here, but I'll let you dig in. So, Melissa reached out in our Discord and she said, love that Riley is joining the podcast. So, she lives in Buffalo, big Bisons fan. He's been
Hmm.
unreal for our Buffalo Bisons. Can you ask him if he has a girlfriend, which you did mention that you did, or wife, and what her role has been this year when he got called up? Did she go to Buffalo with him? And are most players' partners doing it long distance when it comes to the minors?
Yes, long distance is part of it, and I think everybody who has a girlfriend in pro ball has done long distance at one point or
Hmm.
another, and it ain't fun. But if the person you're with, yes, I do have a girlfriend. If the person you're with cares about you, it shouldn't matter. And there's ways to cultivate a relationship, build with each other, grow with each other, and I think that comes from just supporting each other from a distance. And Marley, my girlfriend, was actually in New Hampshire with me when I got called up to Buffalo, so
Amazing.
I got to get on a flight, drive a 3 hour flight, but she drove my car 7.5 hours from New Hampshire to Buffalo. And so I mean, she supports me in a lot of ways, man. So many ways. When she comes and visits me, she'll clean up, do laundry. She'll just do certain things like that, you know, it helps me out. It helps us out because we have more time outside of the field to do different things, to explore,
Hmm.
to see cities, and but yeah, she's great, man. And I think there's everybody's in a different point in their relationship, and where we're at right now, I'm supporting her. She just got a great job doing medical sales in Columbus, Ohio, and she got an apartment there. So yeah, we're doing long distance, and but I want to see her succeed. She wants to see me succeed. So
Yeah.
we're doing that from a distance, and we're rooting each other on. But yeah, then there's other guys on the team who their girlfriends, yeah, they move up and move to Buffalo, and they kind of just do their own thing and hang out and see the city
Yeah.
together, and that's awesome too. You know what I mean? But yeah, everybody's different. Guys have wives who are with them with their
Yeah.
kids. There's guys whose girlfriends they haven't seen in months and months because they have things going on themselves, and then there's guys who see their girlfriends every day because they travel with us. They travel on the road with us. They're in every city, and that's just to each their own. And
Yeah.
I think it's just whatever situation works best for you and your partner, and it's just how it goes.
When you're pursuing something like pro ball, and I mean the entertainment industry I kind of relate to too, because like I don't know where I would be without my wife, like it's just one of those
Right.
things where just, and I just mean even emotional support, like, not that
Absolutely.
like all the other stuff isn't incredibly appreciated and stuff like that, but like no one really understands it unless they're there with you, like going through it. So
Right.
there is something to
Right.
be
And I
said
think
for that
that's
for sure.
yeah, absolutely. You can have a bad week, but your girlfriend's still gonna love you, I hope.
Yeah,
So I
exactly,
think I
exactly.
think that's just yeah, it's like you said, man, the emotional support is utmost the most important thing that I think that or else you wouldn't be in the relationship with that person. And yeah, she does a great job with that. And yes, that's she does that before she does my laundry and cleans my apartment. Yeah,
Yes, of course.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Because yeah, man, there'll be bad games where I have no interest in talking about the game, but it doesn't matter to her. You know what I mean? She's not going to treat me differently because I went 0 for
Yeah.
4 with 4 strikeouts, and
Yeah.
I think that shows that there's yeah, it's bigger than baseball. I mean, the baseball is great, and our jobs are great, and we love them, and we're going to put a lot into them, but it's not the end all be all. And
Hmm.
if it doesn't, it's what we do. It's not who we are, and I think that's important to always remember.
100%. 100%. You can lose yourself if your identity is what you do. That's for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
last one here, my man, and we'll let you get off to breakfast here. So, Josh on Twitter reached out. He's also from Buffalo. He says, "Hey, Riley, thanks for joining the podcast. We always love hearing from our Buffalo Bisons. What's it like when someone you are close to gets called up to the big leagues? Do you have any buddies currently playing in the show you are in touch with? I mean,
Hmm.
you did just mention Leo Jimenez. So,
Yeah. I
yeah, what
mean,
is that like?
it's awesome. It's a dream come true. You are like for if he's truly your friend, like so I can talk on Barger, I can speak on Baroa, I can speak on Leo. I haven't played that much with Spence, but of course I'm gonna be happy with
Yeah.
him. But he always goes up, he's been up and down a few times. I met at the draft combine, I met Mason Miller through a mutual friend who's with the A's, and he's got an incredible story. And so when I met him in 2021, he had only played 1 year at a Division 1 after being diagnosed with diabetes, and he was telling me his whole story, how he kind of learned like got he was out of baseball, and then one of his buddies got him back into baseball, and he pretty much learned how to throw hard. And so I met him there, and he was just the most down to earth, normal person I've ever met in my life. And then a year and a half, 2 years later, he's getting called to the big leagues, and for that guy, I couldn't have been more happy. I just so
Yeah.
excited for him because he deserves it more than anybody. Same with Baroa, who he's gone up and down. He's had an up and down career.
Yeah.
He's been there's been times where he's played 3 times a week, twice a week. Then there's the times where this year he's the absolute guy in Buffalo. He's
Yeah.
the leadoff hitting 300. And for Baroa, I don't know if I've ever been more excited for anybody to go to the big leagues because he's one of my good buddies who introduced me to pro ball. He was on the first
Yeah.
team I was ever on, one of the first guys that I ever met. So yeah, it's awesome to see these guys get to where we all want to be. And yeah, it's awesome to see your friends grow and to see them make that step is incredible.
Well, we're hoping it's you next, Riley. We're rooting for you, my man. Again,
Thank you
thank you
very
so
much.
much for taking the time. And I know that I'll bug you down the road here. Maybe we can have you back on. But honestly, man,
I'd
best of
love
luck with the
to.
rest of the season. And yeah, buddy, we're rooting for you.
Thanks,
Hope
Scott.
to see you in a Jays uni soon enough.
All right, I appreciate you. Anytime you want me on, man, I'll be available.